Okay, so this is solutions to paper I, non-calculator paper. Okay, first one is a wee BODMAS question. Remember, of means times. So we're going to do the multiplication first. So you have to make that one top heavy. So our first sum is 5 over 6 times, well, 5 ones are 5 plus 2 is 7. So there's your first sum, is multiplying them. Now you could make that 35 over 30, or you could spot that the 5s are going to cancel, leaving you with 7 over 6. From there we have to now do 2 1/3 plus 7 over 6. Oh God, you know what? Because that one's top heavy, I'm going to make the other one top heavy. I either have to make them both improper now or both mixed, so I'll make them both top heavy. 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1 is 7. So I've got 7 over 3 plus 7 over 6. We could do smile and kiss and turn them both into 18ths, or you could spot if you just double that first fraction, it's going to turn it into sixths. So that would be the 14 over 6 plus 7 over 6. 14 adds 7 is 21 over 6. Now 21 over 6 can simplify down there in your 3 times table. So using your 3 times table, that would give you 7 over 2. And that would be a perfectly okay example answer to leave it as, or you could say that that is 3.5 for that one. Next one, solving the inequality. First I'm going to do is multiply that bracket. So you've got 5 take away x is greater than 2x plus 2. You then have the choice, do you take your letters left or your letters to the right? I would probably always take my letters to the side that's got the biggest x term, but I'll do it both ways just to show you. So if I was keeping my letters left, I would have minus x, 2x would come over and become negative, is greater than, 2 is already there, 5 would become minus 5. So I would end up with minus 3x is greater than minus 3. Now, minus 3 divided by minus 3 is just 1. The negatives will cancel out. But because you've divided by negative 3, you have to flip that arrow. So x is less than 1. I'm just going to show you if I did it the other way, taking your letters to the other side. So from here, that would have given you 5 take away 2 is greater than 2x plus x, giving you that 3 is greater than 3x. So 1 was greater than x. Notice the arrow is pointing to the x. So when you flip that round, you get x is less than 1. That is why we are flipping the arrow. It's just a trick. There's no mathematical reason for it, but it's the trick that works to get your answer right. And that's why I always teach, take your letters to the positive side. That way it saves you having to deal with the whole flipping bit. Okay, question 3 is a factorise. So there's so many different ways to do this. I'll do the St Andrews cross first of all. So you do 2p and p. You're looking for numbers that multiply to minus 12 and add to minus 5 when you do the thing at the side. So you do 2p and p, then your cross. Numbers that multiply to 12, I'm thinking 3 and 4. That would give me 6 and 2, so that doesn't work. I'm going to try the 3 and the 4 the other way round. 2 times 4 is 8. P times 3 would be 3. Oh, 8 and 3 can make minus 5. It would have to be minus 5 take away the 8. So, no, sorry, it would have to be normal. Oh God, what am I saying? To get minus 5, it would have to be the 3 take away the 8. So the positive goes with the 3, the takeaway goes with the 4. And there's your 2 brackets there. So 2p plus 3 and p minus 4. So that is one way. The other way is if you, let me just hide that just now. So the other way is if you do the table method, which I sometimes teach to my class, you are no longer looking for numbers that multiply to minus 12. Okay. We are looking for numbers that now multiply to 2 times minus 12. So we are now looking for numbers that multiply to minus 24. So into our boxes, we draw out 4 boxes. We put 2p squared there and minus 12 here. Numbers that multiply to 24 and add to 5 are 3 and 8. So to get minus 5, that would be 3p and it would be take away 8p. Then we look for things in common. So if I go with the top row, there's a p in common. Bottom row, they both divide by minus 4. The first column, there's a 2p in common and they both divide by 3. There's your 2p plus 3 bracket. There's your p minus 4 bracket. So again, you might not be taught either of those two ways, but that's the way I sometimes teach. Okay, question 4. We have a diagram of a line of best fit showing the sales of umbrellas at midday in a town. Okay, and the line of best fit's been drawn. They're going to ask us to find the equation of this line of best fit. So they say find the equation of the line of best fit and then use our answer. Right, so this is a tricky one because we need to choose our coordinates very, very carefully. Now, I would possibly, oh God, I can't really make this big enough. Coordinates I would be choosing are ones that definitely fall on the lines. And the nice thing about this one is, they've given you that one on the y-intercept. We could also use this one. I would possibly use these ones here, so probably try and use any of those ones. Going with the first two though, I'm going to go with that one of 0, and then, oh God, that's 100, 110, 120, that'd be 130. So my first coordinate is 0, 130, and my second coordinate is 5, and then that's 110. Okay, so my gradient from there, now sorry I'm writing all over this, so my gradient is 110 minus 130 all over 5 minus 0. So that gives me minus 20 over 5, which is minus 4. And that matches because it is a downward sloping line. So minus 4 is okay for a gradient. Now if you look, they have given you the C value in this one. The C value is this. That is 130. So C is 130. So I can go straight to writing in my equation of the line. So my equation of the line is y equals minus 4x plus 130. Now you could also then take one of your coordinates and plug it into the other equation, which is y minus b equals mx minus a. If I take the first coordinate there of 0, 130, I'd have y minus 130 equals minus 4 bracket x, take away 0, which wouldn't count, which would also give me the minus x, and then that become plus 130. Now one thing to point out is that it is not in terms of y and x. Your x has been turned into a t, and your y has been turned into an s for umbrella sales. So the formula is really a formula. So sales equals minus 4 times the temperature plus 130. That is your equation of the line. Part B then asks us to use your answer to part A to predict the sales one day when the temperature is 30. So that means that T is getting replaced with the number 30. So our sales will be minus 4 times 30 plus 130, which is minus 120 plus 130. Add them together to get 10. So we predict to sell 10 umbrellas that day. Normally they give you one to choose that couldn't be read off from your graph, and if you have a quick look at this, 30 didn't appear on our temperature bit, so we couldn't have just used a picture for it. That's National 4 using the line of best fit. National 5 get you to use your equation. Question 5, want the volume of a sphere, so the first thing to do is start with the formula. So V equals 4/3 pi r cubed. So we have 4/3 times, we have to use 3.14 in this case, and our radius, well our diameter is 6, so our radius is 3 cubed. So that is 4/3 times 3.14 times 3 cubed is 27. Now, normally with these ones when it's non-calculated, that fraction will cancel with something. I can find, ignoring the decimal, I can find 4/3 of 27. 27 divided by 3 is 9. So I'm just going to write this as 4 times 3.14 times 9. Now, the reason I've done that is because I didn't want to do 4 times 9 is 36, because then you're going to have to do long multiplication, and not everyone's brilliant at timesing by 36. So I'm just going to do this at sum at a time. I'm going to times it by 9, I'm going to times it by 4. So I'm going to times it by 9 first of all. 9 4s are 36, 9 1s are 9, plus 2 is 12, and 9 3s are 27, plus 1 is 28. Then I'm going to times that same sum by 4, or that answer by 4. And 4 times 6 is 24. 4 2s are 8, plus 2 is 10. 4 8s are 32 plus 1 is 33. 4 2s are 8 plus 3 is 11. So my answer is 113.04 centimetres cubed. So these are always doable without a calculator because they choose you nice numbers. And the clue is being able to get that 3 divided into this number here, right? That's the important bit. And I would never do, and I hate doing long multiplication, I would never get someone to do that sum there. Remembering to times by 36, you can break it down and use 9 and 4. You could do times 6 times 6. You could do times 12 times 3. Use any pair of numbers that multiply to 36 to do it that way. Okay, so there's two options on this one. It's simultaneous equations. We can either get the x's the same or the y's the same. I generally always teach to get the y's the same, so that's the method I'm going to go with. Even though it makes my numbers a wee bit ugly looking. So the top one I'm going to multiply through by 8 to turn it into a 40. The bottom one I'm going to multiply through by 5. I don't need to worry about sign because I've already got my plus and my minus there. So 8 times 2 is 16x minus 40y equals, now that's 192. You could always go do 24 times 8 at the side if you're struggling. Times the bottom through by 5 gives me 35x plus 40y, and then 5 times 33 is 165. Again, I've already done this sum, but you could do a wee sum at the side. Then I'm just going to add the two of these together. The 40s will cancel out. Okay, 16 add 35, that gives me 51x. And then 192 add 165, I'm going to do a sum. 2 times 5 is 7, 9 add 6 is 15, 1 add 1 is 357. This is a really unfair one to give you in a non-calculator paper. I don't think that's quite accurate. Anyway, 357 divided by 51, well, I'm just looking at that, and 51 goes into 350. If that was just 50 and 350, I would say it was 7. I'm just going to check that 7 times 51 is 357, so it's 7. Potentially, if we're going with the x's, this would have been easier. Right, if x is 7, I'm going to go back to my top equation. So I've got 2 times 7 minus 5y equals 24. So 14 minus 5y equals 24. Minus 5y equals 24 minus 14, which is 10. So y is negative 2. So my solution is x equals 7, y equals negative 2. I didn't like the numbers in that one. Question 7, just looking at it straight away, it is similarity. It mentions mathematically similar. That is your keyword. So we want to know the volume of the large cup. So your method is you get your scale factor. Because it's volume, you cube it and you times that by the B volume. Okay. Now our scale factor, because we're going big, is big over small or new over old. So it's 21 over 14 cubed times 160. Now we don't have a calculator here, so we're actually going to have to simplify first. 21 over 14 is your 7 times table, so that's the same as 3 over 2 cubed times 160. 3 cubed is 27, 2 cubed is 8 times 160. Always look for something cancelling down. For example, 6 goes into 160 nicely. 160 divided by, sorry, I said 6, it should have been 8. 160 divided by 8 is 20, so you're left with 27 times 20, which is 54 with a 0. So the big one holds 540 mils. So remember, without a calculator, it is doable, and it's all about, same with your non-calculated volumes, it's spotting that your fraction always goes into the end number. Okay, next question is standard deviation without a calculator. So I know everyone does standard deviation slightly differently. There's two different methods. I use this one where it's x minus x bar, and x minus x bar all squared. If you don't use that one, apologies. I'm only going to be working out the answers this way. Putting in the numbers to the table, I have 1, 1, 1, 2 and 5. I'm going to have to just write over this for a minute. The mean of those numbers, when you add them all up, is, well, that's 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 plus 5 is 10. So your mean is 10 divided by 5, which is 2, right? So each of these numbers you subtract 2. 1 take away 2 is minus 1, minus 1, minus 1, 0. 5 take away 2 is 3. We then square each of those numbers. Remember, always turn positive when you square them. So that's just 1, 1, 1, 0 and 9. Total them up, you get 12. Now, standard deviation is the sum of the deviations squared, so that is your 12, all over 5 numbers in the list, so we take one away is 4, and that gives you the square root of 3, which is what they wanted, so we know we've got that one right. Then it says write down the standard deviation of this list of numbers. Now, write down means absolutely no working, so we're certainly not going to go try and do this again. However, look at your first list, look at your second list. The numbers are all the exact same, but they've all had 100 added on, right? Do you see that? So they're not any more spread out. And the standard deviation is a measure of spread. So if they're not any more spread out, the standard deviation hasn't changed. I always tend to talk about the example of me and my brother. We're 2 years apart. He will always be 2 years older than me. Even in 50 years' time, he will be 2 years older than me. That gap will not change. Bit like standard deviation, the spread is not changing, so the standard deviation doesn't change. If they'd asked you for the new mean, however, the mean would have dropped up by 100 and the mean would have been 102. But they didn't ask that in this one. Okay, this question's actually been seen in one of the earlier papers if you've already done it. So we've added 20% to this box. So this box is now the equivalent of 120% of the original. We need to get 1% and then we need to get 100%. Now to get 1%, you divide that by 120. I'm going to come down and do this wee sum here with you, right? I can cancel out the zeros, right? So it's just the same as 12 into 90. So let's take that away. Let's do 12 into 90 instead. You might not even need to do a sum with this. I know it doesn't go exactly, so I'm adding a 0.0. 12 into 90, the closest I can get is 84, which is 12 times 7, right? So that is 7. And then that leaves a remainder of 6. And then 12 into 60 is 5. So 1% is 7.5. You then times that by 100 to get 100%, so it's 750 grams. Now, quick check. 10% is 75. That makes 20% 150. 150 is what's been added on. 750 add 150 gives you the 900. So I always like to check these ones back. Next question is a cost graph that has been shifted left or right. There's no value in front, which there normally is, so there's no amplitude one. So to do this one, you have to think of your bog standard cost graph. Normal cost graph cuts at 90 and 270. This one cuts at 135. So how much has it been moved? It's been moved in that direction. From 90 to 135 is a gap of 45. So it's been moved 45. So as an equation, that would have been cost of x minus 45. And if it's moved in the positive direction, then minus goes in the bracket. Now, in their equation and our equation, they've both got a minus, so A is just 45. That's all they're after. But I'm in the habit of always writing the equation first. There has been an example before where they wrote that as x plus A. And in our case, if we had that, you'd notice the signs were different and A would have been minus 45. So that's why I always write it out, is so I can compare it to their style of the equation, because sometimes they give you the wrong sign. Question 11 is a straightforward rationalising question. The minute you see the word rationalise, you times top and bottom by the third. Because as long as you times top and bottom by the same number, you're making an equivalent fraction. So that gives us 12 root 2 all over root 2 times root 2 is root 4, which is just 2. That 12 and the 2 can then divide. 12 divided by 2 is 6. So that's just 6 root 2. Question 12 is not a nice question. I think we have done one similar in one of the earlier papers if you've been working through them. So each day Marissa drives 40 kilometres to work. On Monday she drives at a speed of X kilometres. Find the time taken. Right, so speed, distance, time. Sorry, that's my dog yawning in the background. Speed, distance, time. Time equals distance divided by speed. So her distance, her drive to work is 40 and her speed was X. So there's her time on Monday. On Tuesday, she drives at 5 kilometres per hour faster. So on Tuesday, her distance would still be 40, but her speed would have been X plus 5 because she drove a bit faster, okay? Then says find an expression in terms of X for the difference. The difference is your keyword. Difference means take away. So it wants a difference in the two times. So we have an algebraic fraction. Now, I don't suppose it matters which way round we put this. But if you think about it, if she was travelling faster her time would have been less on the second day, wouldn't it? So I'm going to put the first one first. So I'm going to do 40 over x, take away 40 over x plus 5. See, once you see it like that, do you recognise the type of question? It's your algebraic fractions, your smiling kiss. So your denominator is x bracket x plus 5. And then you've got 40 times that, take away 40x. Right, I've ran out of room. Times that out, so you've got 40x plus 40 times 5 is 200. Take away 40x all over x bracket x plus 5. The 40x's disappear, so you're just left with 200 over x bracket x plus 5. So that, my friends, is an expression for the distance in time. Don't like that question at all. Okay, question 13. William is looking at this logo. I'm pretty sure I've seen this one before in another paper as well. So first part is, we're given this equation here. We have to state the coordinate of P. So P is your turning point, which comes straight from the equation. Remember that if it says a plus in the bracket, this is your B, this is your C value. If it says plus in the bracket, it means it's going to the negative direction. Also look at P. It's clearly moved left. So the first number is -2 and not +2. And then it's gone down 16. So that's what P is. It then says R is at the point 2, 0. So I'm going to put a wee bit more info in here. So I know P is at -2. I know R is at 2. We have to find the coordinate of Q. Now we can do this by a thing called stepping it out. How far have we jumped from 2 to -2? That says jumped 4, isn't it? So we're going to jump 4 again, which makes Q at 6. So Q is along 6 and also down 16. The next part of the question wants us to find the equation of the parabola with turning point S. So I'm going to do the same to get the coordinate for S. So I'm going to jump on, keep going with the pattern. So keep jumping on 4, so that would be 10, that would be 14. So S as a coordinate is 14 minus 16. So the equation for S is y equals x. It goes to positive 14, so that becomes minus 14 in the bracket, and then down 16 on the end. That is the equation for S. And that is the end of that paper.